motherfucking thing.
Do you recall the first time that, and you know, not to double mash, you know, important or not, but you know, anybody of some significant stature or maybe some type of critic, you know, do you remember when they may have like critiqued your work and it got like a good review, let's say, or something that got a review that maybe thrusted you forward?
What sticks out in my mind is last year when I first met Dame. And you know, Dame is famous for being impeccable with his choice of talent. You know, he's responsible for a lot of the movers and shakers in pop culture, and especially me growing up. You know, it's Jay-Z, it's Kanye, it's The Rock. And when I was first able to do a group show at Poppington for his gallery, I just went in there and I was like, you know, I just want to see what his opinion is. I want to see what he thinks of my work, you know, where does it stand up against his taste level, his opinion. And I knew he was into art. And I specifically remember the first time I showed him the Biggie piece that I did. And it's like 65 by 65 inches. And it's a depiction of Biggie when he was 17 freestyling over here in Brooklyn. You know, he loved the first original image. It's dope just off top, you know. And when I explained to him that there was 5 Biggies in there and I showed him the Biggie in the chest and I went through, I remember his reaction. He was like, what? You know, it was pretty crazy to see him have that reaction. And it was the reaction that I expected because I knew what I put down was pretty crazy. But it was like that validation from him. And that's what really started off our friendship. You know, he purchased that piece. You know, he's a proud owner of it now, and we've continued to develop. When I first set out to do that piece, it was for a group exhibition themed around Biggie. But unfortunately, because we lost him so early, there's only, you know, what, 12 to 15 images that you can choose from to paint or do a rendition of him. And a lot of artists have done it almost exhaustively. So going into this group show, I didn't want to, you know, pick a famous photo of Big, whether it be in the Coogee sweater or the Raider hat or whatever it was, and have another artist do a same depiction from the same reference photograph. So that's what got me thinking about, you know, what's different that I could use as my reference point. And I had always, you know, I'm a fan of hip hop, and I've been aware of that video when he was 17 on the corner. So I went to YouTube and I watched the video, and the quality is terrible, you know, and everything's fuzzy in the background. But I probably watched it 100 times to freeze it to the point that I knew I wanted to do at least 2 Biggies. I wanted to make the folds in his shirt the second face, and I wanted to capture the elbow where it could be the classic Kangol hat, which is one of the classic photographs that people choose from. And so to find that right image of where I paused it, the entire intent of the painting at that point was to capture that scene and to put the Biggie in the chest. So it's going to be 2 of them. And so just like in life, like you make a plan, and that's your plan, and you have your set of goals, and you're going to set out to do that, but things change and you adjust. And so as I was painting the piece and I had already rendered those 2 images, I'm looking at, you know, the right side, the left side, the composition feels unbalanced, and then, you know, the mind works in mysterious ways. That's a connection that I don't think as an artist we really can explain. Who knows where it comes from? We're just confident that that's what we need to do. So I think the third image I did was the Biggie with the crown on the right side, the full image, and obviously King of New York and the whole idea with that. But after I did the Biggie on the right, and I started filling in the crowd in the grocery store, it was the grocery store sign in the bodega, I had a lot of white negative space that I also wanted to have to play a part in the entire piece. So I made that the 4th profile on the left-hand side. And then after I did that, the whole thing was framed very well. but to me there was this big spot on the bottom left-hand corner that was just not right. It wasn't finished yet. And then I had the idea to make the entire piece kind of like the puff of smoke from his cigar. You know, almost like that was Biggie at the end, close to when he died. And you know, he's got the cigar, the hat, the glasses, and it was almost like he was reflecting on his journey and where he was at. And once that fifth Biggie came into play, I just stepped back, I looked at it, and I was like, you know what? This is one of, you know, the quintessential Biggie works of art, because I think it really captures his essence of where he started from and who he became. And it was the whole process in between. And so to share that with somebody like Dame Dash, who can, you know, go from the reaction of seeing all 5 Biggies and sharing that moment to being like, you know, he was my friend. And then he tells me, you know, stories about those guys that, you know, you don't really get to hear. And it's pretty cool to hear from a personal level where he talks about them just like, that's my homie and how they used to kick it. So the entire process is something that I always remember, and it's a fun thing to look back on.
How do you know when a piece like that is done? Like, how do you know, what's the feeling?
I don't know, man. If you could give me advice on that, I would appreciate it. I think that's one of the things we all struggle with. It's a feeling, you know. Art is, to me, something you can't teach, you can't really define, you know, you can't judge it. It's ambiguous in that sense. It just lives in this own space.
The greatest rapper of all time died on March 9th. March 9th. March 9th. March 9th. March 9th.